Righto, you blokes, welcome back to another episode. Going to be working on the cooling systems on this one. Got the water to air cooler to still plumb in, and also the oil cooler as well, and the accu sump. Going to work on some shrouding and bits and pieces, make sure there's plenty of flow being directed purely through all these coolers. Fortunate enough that I've got the GDR bumper installed. It's got a big wide open mouth to suck all that air in. I've got some pretty big gaps that I need to fill in here. No one likes a big gap, am I right? So we'll fill that up. First, I'm probably going to have to relocate this light bar, or I need to move it back a little bit or forward, just to give myself a bit more room along here. I want the outlets to face off that way, and if it sits here, they're just going to hit straight into that. So got to make it sit a bit further in front. It's probably not such a bad thing having a bigger gap in between them as well. So a few other bits, buttoning up some stuff, getting it ready to go to the dyno. Have to have a chat to Tim, see how much room he's got for me. Try and squeeze it in somewhere, no doubt. Apart from that, job's on. Let's jump into it. So this is where I want to take, lights are out of the way. This is where I want to try and hang it around here somewhere, so that, as you can see, if I can get it so that the fittings are offset so the hoses can go across the front there. But there's not a great deal around here to mount things to, so might have to whip up a bracket of some sort and go from there. But let's jump to that bracket being done, hopefully. I've managed to mount the oil cooler here. Just welded a bit of plate onto there. See, sometimes my welds are okay, if you can see that. Not bad for a gasless MIG. Anyway, I've got to make another bracket here to stop this flapping around that way and this flapping around that way. I did have another one that was in there before, but not going to work now that these are so close together. So if I can make one bracket that will stop this from flapping and this from flapping, then that will be much easier. Now, I don't think it needs to hold the weight of them because they're pretty well supported on the outside edges. It'll just help it, well, I mean, a little bit of support once they're full of fluid and that, but maybe stop movement this way and that way. So we'll jump onto that next, and then I'll be able to get some of my hose, start plumbing in the accu sump down there and the water to air cooler, and put the pump back on too. So this is the bracket from before, which sat up there, but the cooler always sat a little bit on the piss, so I want to fix that this time around, keep everything even. I'm going to use this bracket and adapt a bit on the top to hold the oil cooler up this time. But what I'm going to do is now, from a piece that I bent up previously, but I think I bent it the wrong way around, so the outer edge comes out rather than running alongside the cooler, which I wasn't happy with at the time. But now what I might do this time is trim that edge down, because it only needs a little bit sitting off there to keep its strength being angle. And I realise that it is a piece of steel rather than alley, so it's going to be heavier than what I would ideally make it out of if I had the skills and alley welding skills and all that sort of thing. But I don't, so I'm not going to make it out of that. I will do the same thing that I did before, where I'll drill the holes out there, which one lightens it up, keeps the strength, but as well as if it's in anywhere that's going to block airflow, it's going to hopefully let air flow through these holes. So I'll work on that. That's the idea behind this, and then hopefully it will work. I just have to work out a little bit that I've got to make to come off the top here to have bolting points so that it can stop that from flapping around. So I'll finish welding that up, drill the holes, cut the edge, and then work out a plate on the top. Bit of a funky angle I think it's going to be, but we'll see how we go with it. Coolers are mounted. I flicked this one black as well because I didn't like blue. Nice and sturdy, nice and sturdy. Got plenty of room behind the oil cooler and radiator there. A little bit of room between here, but I'll shroud it as well. I'm wondering if I might even put another fan on if I have to. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how we go with that. All right, but next is I've got some line there and some hose for to plumb up the oil cooler, and got to plumb in the accu sump. Now my cousins said to me, always check with him first if I need some fittings. I did have to buy the T-piece, but I raided his box of fittings and he's helped me out with that. So I've got all these bits and pieces to put together. He's got his Barra-powered XD Falcon. So I'll drop a link in here somewhere if I can to the burnout video he did on that one. But he's always got bits and pieces to help me out with. So I've got some fittings there. I'll be able to tee this into the accu sump. I'm following the instructions that are under here. Basically got to feed it in from the outlet of the oil filter into the oil cooler, and then down back on the return is where the AccuSump tees back in. I'm thinking I'll probably put the outlet to the top and then the inlet to the bottom. That way gravity can help as well. Gravity is going to suck it down. It's going to suck it off down here. And it's going to help it go down and around back to where it's got to go. Anytime I can help it make the oil, it'll probably make the oil pump work a little bit less if gravity's working with it rather than against it. Not that I think it's going to matter. It probably gets up plenty of pressure to push it around, but that's just my thinking. That's what I'm going to do. It probably doesn't matter at the end of the day, but that's how I'm going to do it. So got to put the lines down there. I've got some elbows here to hook up that comes out of the sandwich plate for the oil filter. Run that one around, route it nicely, and then work out how I'm going to get all this to work with this T-piece. Because where I've screwed it's an NPT fitting, so it sits there, and then you kind of don't get to choose really where the NPT fitting ends up pointing out. So I don't have any straight ones. I'm going to make use of the 45, but I think if I have it's kind of pointing down here, which is probably not too bad because the oil cooler will exit down there somewhere. So I'll make that work, and I can tee it in wherever I need to. So we'll jump onto that next.
When I do say the double line when it's true, for heaven's sake, I hope I don't wake up and be a fool. Don't know where I would be without you. If I got you, I don't need nothing.
Righto, I've just made that fitting like you just saw. It's pretty dark down here, I don't know if you can see. Oops, dropped my phone too. That's how iPhones get smashed, guys. I'll probably roll over it in the creeper in a sec anyway, but not worry about that. So the oil line goes along here. Now I've got to be careful because my flat tray sits along there. So I'm going to have to try and loop it up and around, which you cannot see a thing because it's so dark. I'll try and make that a bit better in post if I can for you guys to see. But anyway, the flat tray sits under here, so I'm going to have to make that go around there. I don't want to use more than a 90 because that's going to restrict flow, and that's the last thing I want to do when I'm going to have all sorts of crazy shit going on up here. So I'll loop that round and then make it work somehow and come out to the top there. I'll route that now and see how we go, because that's all fitted up. Good. I'll work out the length first, then I'll use the old tape. I'll use a bit of tape, whatever, just to hold it together, because as soon as you cut that phrase, so I'll do that, and then I can use, I've got these ones are old, I'll probably just use the fresh hose ends that'll go in there, but I'll work out the length I need, cut that one, and then that will feed into the top, and then we can move on to the next part. I'd like to try and run them together if I can, but it's not always the case with this sort of stuff, so I'll run that line and we'll put an end on it. I'm not having much luck. It's going bloody all over the place. I don't want to have 3 meters of hose just for the oil cooler to travel. Although 3 meters of hose, that's a fair bit more oil that it can hold. I can hold it in the line. Anyway, it's like a bloody jigsaw puzzle, but it's not, because a jigsaw puzzle, at least someone's solved it before, you know it can be done. This, I just have no idea. I'm gonna have to work out where to run all this hose. I might bloody sleep on it and see if I can think of a different idea. I'm just really restricted with down here. This is where the issue is. I'll turn the bloody light on here. That's where my issue is. The direction that's pointing and then looping all the way back out that way. It's sort of shooting off to the opposite side of the oil cooler outlets, which is not ideal, but I can't fit that around either because I've already mounted it. So anyway, I'll think of a way. It'll be fine. I'll work something out. There we have it. Lines are all plumbed in, ready to roll. All that's left now, fill it up with a bit of coolant, bleed the system out, and then ready for the dyno. So I'll get in touch with Tim down at Forged. Hopefully on the next video, we'll be down there running this thing up on the dyno, be a bit more exciting. And then, well, hopefully it doesn't blow up. That'll be the ultimate excitement for a video though, but not for me. Anyway, that one should be a bit more interesting to watch rather than me just thumbing around doing oil coolers and stuff like that. I think that about wraps it up though. So hopefully we'll see you at the next video.